Good morning. Thanks for clicking on to the Kilachari Torah Daily Halacha Review. We're going through Rambam's Sefer HaMitzvahs list of all 613 commandments, a few, one or two or three or so per day. On today, June 29th, Tuesday, we are up to positive mitzvah number 39, the daily burnt offering, the Karban Tamid. So a lot of interesting details here, so we'll try to cover most of this that he writes here. By this mitzvah, we're commanded to offer in the sanctuary every day 2 male lambs of the first year, which are called the Karban Tamid, the continuous offering. And this you have, if you take a look in Numbers chapter 28, verses 3 and 4, you'll see the mitzvah to offer one in the morning, one in the afternoon. This mitzvah, the order of the sacrifices and the procedure to be followed are explained in Tractate Yuma and also in Tractate Tamid. For contrast, remember we're going through Maimonides' listing of mitzvahs. Nachmanides, Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, gives his own counting of mitzvahs. He also comes up with 613, as do the Sefer Mitzvot Katan, Sefer Mitzvot Gadol, Reb Sadia Gaon, and probably anyone else that I can't think of at the moment who lists all the mitzvahs. None of them are exactly identical, but everyone knows there's 613. It's just a question of which ones count as separate mitzvahs. Ramban, by contrast to Rambam that we're learning here, counts the bringing of the daily offering in the morning and at dusk, late in the afternoon, as 2 separate commandments, because each one is distinct from the other. But we're following the Rambam's counting here for our discussion, and we're saying that it's 1. At the daily burnt offerings brought for the whole nation at the sanctuary in Jerusalem, Israel as a whole, the entire Jewish people, were represented. Just as the Kohanim and Leviim were divided into 24 watches or shifts, like we said the other day, each would share for a week. The land of Israel, the country as a whole, was also divided into 24 regions, and a delegation of the elders and the chief citizens of each region went by turn each week to Yerushalayim to stand by, to be present when those offerings were made on behalf of the entire Jewish people. This was called the Ma'amad, which literally means standing. This delegation was called the Ma'amad. And you'll see actually in the older Siddurim from 100 years or so ago, you'll see in the back there are Maimados. There's a series of verses and so on to be read. People used to read those in shuls, I guess. The people in the synagogues that would stay back would read those also in spiritual unison, as it were, with the elders of the city who had gone to represent them in Yerushalayim. The daily burnt offerings were provided solely from the fund made up of the half shekels. We spoke about that in great detail over the last couple of years, right up until COVID, when we were learning Tractate Shkalim on Tuesday mornings. We're just about a page and a half away from finishing that, so hopefully when we get back together, start reconvening our daily minyan, we will make a siyum on that tractate, Emir Hashem. The half shekel offerings were incumbent upon the entire Jewish people. All Israel, rich and poor, contributed the same amount. The daily burnt offerings, this Karban Tamid, which was a central feature of regular public services in the sanctuary, in the temple, was celebrated with great religious solemnity befitting their significance. The author of this, compiler of this book, explains. Tradition describes the closing scenes at the daily service. They blew a tkiya on the shofar. In other words, it isn't just for Rosh Hashanah anymore. They use the shofar quite frequently in the temple. They blew a tkiya, a steady blast, a trua, the quavering blast, and another tkiya. And then they came and stood by Ben Arza, who was the player of cymbals, one on his right hand, one on his left. When the deputy high priest, when the Kohen who was performing the service made the wine libation, when he poured the wine on the altar, the Sagan Kohen Gadol, the deputy vice high priest, waved the flags, and Ben Arza struck the cymbals, and the Leviim sang the psalm of the day. When they came to a pause in the psalm, there was a tkiya blown on the shofar, and the public bowed down, prostrated themselves, and at every pause there was a tkiya, and every tkiya there was a bowing down, a prostration. So explains Talmud Tractate Tamid, page 33b. Please feel free to look it up. Okay, speak more about the various offerings and service in the temple tomorrow, please God, so tune in then. Have a good day.